Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the City of Madeira Beach Board of Commissioners Workshop meeting. Today is Tuesday, November 25th, and the time is 2:03 p.m. Would the city clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Hodges?
Here.
Commissioner Lister?
Here.
Commissioner Poe?
Here.
Commissioner Schatz?
Here.
Mayor Palladino?
Here. First up, presentation from SWAT students working against tobacco. We have the person from SWAT here today. Okay, I'll tell you what, if it is okay with the commission, we'll kind of hold on that just in case if they're running a little late. And we'll move into item B, and I saw Commissioner Kennedy is here for an update from the MPO. Commissioner Kennedy, how are you doing today?
What's going on here? City. Looks like it's all good, though. Who would I give you?
The clerk. Let me let Cookie a little bit longer. Thank you.
Okay, what I gave you is, I told you that now that I'm your representative, I'm going to be very proactive so that I want to do what I can for your city. So, you know my background. I told you that when I came last time. You know a little bit about the unification, that we had the unification. I've had 2 meetings so far. And at the first meeting, they handed us a packet that was probably about 20 pages thick, and it was all road improvements that were going to be done in Pinellas County and up to 2035. And one of the roads was Gulf Beaches by Indian Rocks Beach down to Sand Key, and the other one was in Treasure Island. And that's it. Okay, that's it. So I found out immediately that every July there is an application process through the MPO, and so that's where you come into this. I want you to be my eyes and ears, and I want you to look for projects in your community that have to do with safety issues, sidewalks, drainage, flooding, road, any kind of road repairs, because that's where that's the monies that we receive to restore those kinds of projects. And what I did to try to be proactive, when I first had my first meeting with Sarah Ward, and you may know her. Sarah is the interim manager for the MPO, and she told me basically that many of the grants that the MPO receives, they come to an end. And then when new ones come, they may not receive the same amount of money. There may not be a grant again. So I asked her several things as far as who had they contacted, and in the packet is a letter on October 8th that I wrote Senator Nelson. And about 2 weeks later, I received a call from his aide. And in the letter, I put as many things as I could possibly think of as far as the beach communities go. And on October 28th, which is also in there, is a letter from him, and I received probably about 10 pages of grants available. He had no idea that the beaches have not had a representative on the MPO, and he wants to be very proactive in helping us receive money. So you had a meeting about the Restore Act, and he is very involved in that. So my whole point to all of you is any projects that come before all of you, I would appreciate it if you get in touch with me, and we will set up to have some kind of a process for the application, which will be in July. And if we can't get the money through the MPO, we perhaps could get it through one of the grants that Senator Nelson has given us, and if not, the Restore Act. So I wanted you all to know that.
Is there I don't mean to interrupt you, is there a categorical type
divisions on this? I mean, you use the word projects. I mean, is it road projects, building projects?
Yes,
Infrastructure projects?
And do you, I didn't, would you like a packet? Because did you?
If we've got one, I'm sure
I got
I'll
one right
get a
here
chance
for
to
you.
take a look at.
Here are, in this, there is a list of
Okay.
different kinds of projects,
Gotcha.
road projects for you.
Gotcha. And that's, I apologize for all the questions. That's
No,
funded
no, ask me whatever.
through- How? What's the funding source?
A lot of them are from the FDOT, but now,
Okay.
because the MPO is a federal agency, and now that we got in touch with someone who is aware of our situation here, and I told her the entire story, his aide, that, you know, we haven't had a representative, so there's this list of projects that are going to take place to 2035, and we have one on all the entire beaches in Treasure Island.
Really?
And this includes go ahead.
Cookie, I'm sorry. And also through the Restore Act, is some of that money come through BP money?
Yes.
Yeah, and I know that me and Mr. Crawford's had that conversation, and we've kind of tried to look for some of that, but we keep kind of hitting some stone walls. So is there some other avenues that we can take to get that? And I know, Shane, that we've had this discussion for about almost 2 or 3 months now, since we've been talking about the Restore Act and the BP money.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any way, Cookie, that
Yes,
we can
yes,
kind of
yes.
streamline the whole process?
Do you have some kind of a packet available on the projects that you're talking about, Shane?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I could relay our capital improvement
Okay.
plan. But like if I knew stormwater and roads was a easier project to fund than building bad example, but Madeira Beach Park, so I mean, categorically, I would imagine that some of these fit better than others, or maybe I'm wrong.
What I would like to do is let's meet with the interim director right now that we have, Sarah Ward. We'll look at those, but also, if you have a list of these different kinds of projects, what I would like to do is forward them on to Senator Nelson's office, because one of the big things is safety. So that's what the Restore Act had to do with safety. It has to do with any kind of drainage, flooding. And when I wrote the letter, I had the city manager look at it, and I said, can you think of anything else that I should put in this letter? And he goes, no, I think you pretty much covered everything that you could possibly put in there. So, and that being said, I will leave you a card.
Sure.
And then we'll get in touch with you, or you'll get in touch with us. And because I know you have several projects, don't you, that you have some drainage problems here. And I would, let's be proactive with this, and let's start getting them. Treasure Island has, when I went to see them last month, Mayor Minning said, we have a safety issue problem. And so we're trying to get these all put together. And let's start submitting them. I don't know where we'll be, but the interesting thing is the Restore Act specifically deals with the beach communities. So that's another funding source that we can use, and there's plenty of money there. So, that's what I'd like to, if you would call me, or we'll get together and I'll set up with Sarah Ward and we'll figure out. And we'll bring in the FDOT too, because that was the other thing that she told all these guys that are on the FDOT that come to our meetings. So I'm going to get to meet with them now, and they're going to be much more proactive with the beaches because they know that there aren't any projects for us. So that was why I wanted to come today. I want you guys to be looking for projects so that I can help you. And in this packet, I just put some things so that I want you to understand what we're doing on the MPO. And there's a list of how the organization works, who we deal with, the chain of command. I put the committees and how the net works so that you have that. I put a list, and, I'm sure that they're humoring me, but I put the acronyms because the first meeting I had, there must have been 300 acronyms. And so I want you to be able to look at these and say, what is she even talking about? So that you have that. Sarah wanted you to see some of the projects that they are working on. And so I put a couple in there about that. I put the letters that I wrote to the senator in there because I wanted you to see those. Here is the page that's the Transportation Alternative Program, which gives you kind of a list of what the different categories for you. Okay? And thank you. I hope you all have a nice Thanksgiving. Is there any questions that I can answer.
Just real quick, Cookie, so you'll be able to work with getting, if Mr. Crawford puts a meeting together for myself and him and the
Absolutely.
senator and Sarah, which I know will probably be
Yes.
working through Sarah and that. And another question, and I know it took a lot of time to do this, and I appreciate your years of work on it. You know, combining the MPO with the PPC, I mean, do you see it a little more streamlined process where it's going to be a little more effective working this way?
Yes, it is, and it's a little bit more complicated, because what we're doing is, first we have the MPO meeting, because there are specific guidelines for each.
Right.
So we did put them together. Now, the other thing that's going to happen now is they are going to, we just went out for bid for a new interim, we're not going to have an interim, we have two of them. You know, we have one from each group. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go out and we're just going to have one. And if either of the two that we have, Michael Crawford, who's with the PPC, and Sarah Ward, if they would like to apply for the job, they're more than willing to, I mean, they're allowed to. So I'm on that committee, and I asked that our city manager be in the process for the three, and if you would like anyone from your city to come along and be a part of it, I can add them. You know, I mean, I want you guys to be involved. I want you to know that, you know, I'm trying to protect us as best I can as I'm going along and learning everything. I think that they're being very good, because I continually keep telling them that where are the beaches on here? You know, we're not being represented. I'm sure they're sick of hearing me say that, but I don't really care. So, but yeah, I think it's better. I like it. I think that we're going to make some changes, and I think, you know, one of the things, if one grant comes out of those 10 pages that Senator Nelson gave me, that's one grant that we didn't get, you know, and you know, some of the other individuals that they called said that they don't deal with pork projects, so I don't know what that was about, but anyway, we're dealing with it, and Shane, please call me, and we'll sit down and we'll figure out how we can get this done. And it would be interesting, because maybe we can use one of those new grants, and you guys will be our, like, prototype, which would be great. So
You know us, we like being
yes,
first kind of
no,
thing.
and I love the city. It's great. So thank you for having me, and when we get some new things, and you call me, and then we'll go from there. And I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate your support as we're going. I've already been to St. Pete Beach. That was very interesting. I've been to Treasure Island, and I'm on my way to Indian Shores next after that. So thank you very much.
Can you
Commissioner
enter,
Kennedy, you have a
contact
very nice
Commissioner Cheryl
afternoon.
in the back to get on the white?
Yes. Card.
Yep, that's perfect.
Bye, Cookie.
Next, we're going to go back up to item A, because I see we have our guest here from SWAT, Students Working Against Tobacco. How are y'all doing today?
Good, how are you?
Glad y'all are here. Thank you very much for coming to the city of Madeira Beach.
Thank you.
Yeah, if the commission would like to sit in the audience, we're going to actually be doing the presentation on the screen, so.
Thank you. She expecting one?
Give everyone a chance to wear them. Good job.
All right. Thank you for letting us for our brief interruption as we set up. My name is Daniel Pate. I am president of Pinellas County SWAT and also president of Seminole High School SWAT Club. And we're going to introduce yourselves real quick.
I'm Giovanna Drayton. I'm the treasurer at Lakewood High School SWAT.
Adriana Martin, a secretary at Lakewood High School SWAT.
I'm Sean McQuiston. I'm the vice president in Seminole High School SWAT.
SWAT is Students Working Against Tobacco. We go out into the community and inform people about the dangers of tobacco amongst the youth, especially how they're being targeted. And we're going to present you guys with some information about tobacco and how the youth are being targeted.
Well, why should we care? Because tobacco is the leading cause of preventable and premature deaths, more than AIDS, alcohol, drugs, car crashes, homicides, and suicides combined, killing 88 Floridians each day, and almost 500,000 Americans each year. And with most of these tobacco users starting out as kids, this is why we care. One of our biggest concerns is candy-flavored tobacco. Why is it such a big concern? It is a well-known fact that most kids have a sweet tooth, and nearly 90% of smokers starting by the age of 18. Who do you think tobacco companies are targeting? Us. Every day, 1,200 Americans die from tobacco use, which means that every day the industry loses 1,200 customers. Let's face it, they need us to replace them.
This is a quote from R.J. Reynolds, which is a huge tobacco company. The evidence that younger adult smokers are more receptive to sweeter tasting cigarettes is being explored. In 2009, Congress gave the FDA the power to regulate tobacco products. One of the first items on the list was flavored tobacco.
The FDA has banned all flavored cigarettes except for menthol. However, candy-flavored cigars, cigarillos, and smokeless tobacco products are not banned.
Florida is one of the only states that does not tax cigars, so it makes it very easy for especially high school students and younger kids to be able to buy them and save money, and also they package them individually, apart from just being unpacked. You can buy individual cigars or cigarillos, and you can just get that as opposed to spending more money and getting the whole pack, which makes it easier for them. And it's also, which has led to an increase in the cigars and cigarillo purchasing by the youth, whereas actual cigarettes has dropped. The amount has dropped that kids will buy cigarettes compared to cigars or cigarillos. Another thing is that the cigarillos come in a lot of different flavors. They come in a lot of different candy flavors. You can see them, they come in grape or cherry or wine or whatever flavors that they want to, and this makes it much more appealing to kids. It attracts the kids and they want that. And they can get it cheap and they can get it easily.
So tobacco companies are no longer able to sell flavored cigarettes, but they can sell flavored cigars tax-free. Here's a picture of cigars. So different from cigarettes. And there are now the new dissolvable and chewable products like snus, orbs, sticks, and strips, which are designed to look familiar and safe, even though many of them deliver more nicotine than a cigarette. Take a look at how similar Camel orbs are to Tic Tac.
What concerns us is that most of these flavored products can be found in any convenience store, often located close to candy, making it look harmless to children. We just went on a Polk County retreat, and LaTanisha Wright was there. She was, she was into the tobacco industry, and she actually showed us where they would actually place the tobacco signage near the kids' toys to make it seem more appealing to kids. Sometimes they even put the signage of the tobacco right near like the lower part of the door. Only kids can be able to see that lower part of the door, so they really try to get kids to see it. Youth spend twice as much time in convenience stores as adults, which means twice the exposure. 75% of teens visit convenience stores at least once a week and are exposed to tobacco products and tobacco advertising. And this weekly exposure is associated with 50% increase in tobacco use among kids.
About 90% of adults aren't noticing these flavored products at all because they're not marketed to them. With products that are packaged and flavored to target youth, it is easy to gain community support for the ban. We can use the FDA ban on flavored cigarettes as a selling point. If flavored cigarettes were developed and packaged to target youth, then these alternative tobacco products are just an extension of the same marketing tactic.
Our goal is to go around and inform people about this stuff, and we've been doing that in municipalities and cities around our area, and we've passed, there's been 200 resolutions have been passed statewide, and some of the recent ones we've done are, we just did one this past March I was at in Largo, and they unanimously passed a resolution urging retailers where youth are frequent to cease the sale and marketing of all flavored tobacco products. And that goes throughout Largo as a resolution that they just passed after we came and presented to them and informed them some.
This past May, the city of Kansas City also unanimously passed a resolution urging retailers where youth frequent to case the sale of marketing and flavored tobacco products. Here in Madeira Beach, there are 18 tobacco retailers within walking or biking distance of Madeira Beach Fundamental alone, which is, we know, is populated with 11 through 14-year-olds.
With more than 1 in 5 Florida high school youth, which is 22.2%, using tobacco, the time for action is now. And SWAT is taking action. In March, we presented to the Largo City Council, who unanimously passed a candy-flavored resolution, as well as Kansas City Council in May, which now brings Pinellas County to the 9 total resolutions within our local cities. And in this past March, in the honor of Kick Butts Day, 7 SWAT students went to Tallahassee to speak with the Pinellas County delegation members about tobacco issues with youth.
We've had, like we said, we've had other cities pass ordinances, and we're trying to, our goal is to just get enough resolutions passed around our state to make a positive impact and to make it specifically in Florida, but more importantly, as much as we can to get students to not be targeted by big tobacco, because it's wrong and it's awful. And we're thank you for letting us speak and present to you guys and talk to you guys about why we're passionate about what we're doing and why it's so awful. So if you guys have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them. But thank you. Absolutely. It's littered with it, yep. It's just as bad as some of the pictures in here. It's, you walk in and it's right there in your face. Granted, they are pretty strict because, of course, there was kids buying 18-year-olds to go in there and get them stuff and paying them to do it. I watched that all the time. So the store did get very, very strict with that, but that Circle K does, in fact, have a lot in there. No, it's a no smoking campus. Not that that does much, but it's posted. So there's still a lot of people who disobey the rules anyways. CVS? Yeah, as of October 1st, they were gonna stop, but I think they stopped even sooner. September 4th, they stopped. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for letting us speak. Absolutely.
So
Yep.
it attracts kids. It attracts like big shiny red things. That those
Oh, we plan to. Thank you.
Lordy, you're something. You just amazed me. You really did amaze me. Thank you. That's all those things you did. I used to do stuff like that, but I don't. Oh,
Need hands? You good?
oh, boy.
All righty, next, item C, discussion on medical marijuana amendment. Mr. City Attorney, are you handling that, or Mr. City Manager? Are you starting that off?
Well, I didn't know if Commissioner Poe wanted to start it off, but I'd be
Okay.
happy to go from there. Lane, did you want to say anything?
No,
Okay.
I think you probably do a much better job than I am. We just want to make sure that we stay on top of it.
As everyone probably knows, the referendum failed. The medical marijuana amendment did not pass. There has been a little bit of slowdown in the process of cities adopting ordinances or resolutions that actually address medical marijuana. That's one thing that we have not done here. We have not slowed down. We have prepared an ordinance, and it has been reviewed by Commissioner Poe, and I'm not sure if the rest of you have actually seen it, but Lynn Rossetti has also seen it. And it's going to require just a few small tweaks, but we'd like to bring it back to you and discuss, adopting the ordinance in preparation for the eventual adoption of medical marijuana dispensaries when the amendment does pass. It may be 2 years or 4 years from now, but if you get it on your books now, you're going to be prepared for that if that comes. The ordinance that we prepared basically would put the medical marijuana dispensaries in a situation where it would be a special exception. In other words, it would not be permitted. It would not be a permitted use. It would not be a conditional use, but it would be an exception, a special exception use. And there would be a number of different conditions that would be attached to that. Dispensaries would have to meet those conditions, things such as no loitering on the premises, high security, they not be located within a certain number of feet from a school or a church or those types of places. In addition to that, the current one that we've got that we're working with now, we wanted to make sure that there would be no drive-through services, there would be no delivery service off-site. We'd address the size of the signs dealing with the entity that is actually doing it. And we also wanted to put in place a revocation of the permit itself if they fail to do what they said that they were going to do. And there are violations, 3 within a year or whatever, then you could revoke the permit so that they could no longer operate. So that's kind of broadly the ordinance that we're working on right now. I will tell you that one of the things that Lynn and I, when we first started looking at it, is trying to find a place within the city where it would actually work. Because most cities are adopting 1,000-foot or 2,500-foot distances between schools and churches and and the like, and obviously, if you even have 1,000-foot, you would cover up every part of the beach, and it would not allow one single place in Madeira Beach. We have found what we think is the working point, and that is 900 feet, and we have found one location within the city where that would work, and we'll provide that to you on the map, but it would be in a C3 zoning district. And so with your, further direction, we'll continue to work on this, and it's ready to be brought forward with a few small tweaks, and it could come to you as early as your next meeting in January. So, but we will provide you with that draft, so you can take a look at it way before then.
Mr. City Attorney and Commissioners, and I'm sure, I know I brought that up to one meeting and asked about where we were going, if there was something to be copied, and I've taken a chance to look at it. But it's probably going to happen a lot quicker than you think, with it only failing by, it got 57% of the vote, and it needed 60 to pass. So I know right now there's a big lobbying group starting actually in Tallahassee right now to go ahead and to bring it through legislation. And I mean, like I said, most elected officials are elected by 54% of votes. So they are really going to be pushing this hard pretty quick out the gate soon as sessions back in up in Tallahassee. So it might be something that we definitely want to move forward with
Absolutely.
quickly.
Also, Tom, I didn't get a copy of the ordinance. If you'd just shoot me one over, that'd be
I'll give you
fine.
my copy right now.
I was asking Shane about that the other day because I saw it on the agenda.
Could you include a map of the 900 feet when you do that?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a map that we were working on, and in fact, Lynn was very good in creating it.
So what you're saying is if we invoke the 1,000 or the 2,500 feet, we would essentially ban them from the city, and that would be a fightable situation, is what you're saying? They could win that battle?
I'm saying that there is a high likelihood that they will do that, that they would challenge that. And so we're suggesting that we do like we do with adult use businesses,
Sure.
and we try to find some place that it would actually work. And then once we find a place that would actually work, basically put so many conditions on it so that it would meet the criteria.
I think we did that with electronic signs.
Okay, yeah.
Thanks.
But electronic signs is a different thing. So yes, we do have the maps. We did look at it, and we did figure it out, and we'll bring that back to you when you next consider the draft of the ordinance itself.
Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
Also, that's going to be discussed at the next planning board meeting, correct?
Yeah, the planning commission actually tabled it to the next meeting. They wanted to deliberate a little bit about it, but then I think there was also some additional information. So I would invite if you want to take a look at that, watch that. I'll participate in that meeting as well, and I think from there we'll get at least, you're going to get a non-binding opinion from them, and then we can move forward. So I think, worst case scenario is you could see yourselves adopting something in February.
Well, I'm with
January
the
if
mayor.
necessary.
I've also heard all the rumors that they're going to try to push it through quicker.
Yeah.
My biggest concern is I want to make sure we have the ordinance in place, because once they pass it, then they'll draw the bills up.
Right.
So let's
Yeah, I
at
think we
least
just have to
be
stay
covered.
pretty hip to their session schedule, and if there's a reason that we have to call a special meeting to just get in front of it, we can certainly do that.
And I apologize. I mean, I sent the email out with the proposed draft ordinance, and it went. I copied Lynn, I copied the city manager, and I copied Commissioner Poe. It may be caught on your spam, and then there were 2 additional emails that were copied as well to you, Commissioner Poe. So I would check your spam filters.
I will.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll go ahead and provide the comments to you as well, and I'll give these to you now, but I'll forward the rest to the rest of the commission.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look again, because every once in a while I don't get emails. They go into outer space. Thank you.
Commission, do we have consensus to let the city attorney move forward with this?
Absolutely.
Bring it back? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, I will do that, and we'll get the revised version back out sometime next week.
Sounds good.
Next, discussion on Tampa Riverwalk issue and ordinance. Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we can make this one real brief. I was interviewed in regards to this the day before Tampa passed this, not because of the Johns Pass issue, but they wanted to know, how does Madeira Beach police alcohol consumption on its beach? And we're, I don't want to say well-known for that, but we're known for that. So during the interview, I kind of shifted it from, you know, I think we have very responsible people, for the most part, consuming alcohol on our beach. Everybody abuses the rule every once in a while, but you know, that happens with almost anything. But I said, Madeira Beach was kind of, at least I was, anxiously watching what Tampa was going to do in regards to this issue, because we've been approached by Johns Pass Village in regards to creating a wet zone there. And what they did here and a wet zone are not synonymous by any means. And so if you're not hip to this, or if you don't know what they did, the Tampa Riverwalk is a very pretty section of town there, where there's 7 or 8 vendors that sell beer, that sell alcohol. And they wanted to be able to buy a beer at Terry's place and be able to walk to Nancy's place, is basically what the issue is. So what they did was they came together on this resolution. Commissioner Poe had a contact in Tampa that got it over to us. And they're selling a universal cup that they all come, you know, the city's actually, I think, running the show and probably making $1 off of the whole idea. But you can only be walking on the Riverwalk if you have this special cup, and you can only have 2 of them, which, you know, 2 hands, 2 drinks, I guess that makes sense. But you can't hold more than 2. There were certain criteria that they established that, you know, you can't be, you know, misbehaving, so on and so forth. But we could do something like that in Johns Pass. And what I would hate to do, and I think that's why I'm here today, to ask you permission to basically explain to the Johns Pass Village Association what Tampa did, and see if that works for them, and if that's something that they're interested in, to have them come back to you. Because I don't think we're in a position to say, hey, Johns Pass, you've got a problem, you should do what Tampa did. If they're interested in that, they should petition you. But I think that this is a better option than creating this wet zone. Now, I think, you know, as much of what we've got going on, I don't know if we need to get into the business of selling beer cups and things of that sort. I think the association would have to come together and figure that out. But basically then that would allow for outside consumption. You could go to DeLosa's and get a beer in your special cup and then walk to Scully's and consume it there as well. So I think there's going to be opponents and proponents of this, and I think that they need to battle that out and then decide. But that's the whole issue. We got some minor press on it. There wasn't a whole lot, but they're looking to see if we're going to follow suit. In fact, Bay News 9 wants to interview us or me or someone after today, knowing what we're going to do. And I said that might be premature because we were just going to throw the idea in front of the association. So I thought January would be a more appropriate time to talk about it. But I just wanted to see, and maybe that's something you all aren't interested in, and we don't have to tell them about it at all. But I mean, I'm sure somebody's seen it. Matt Powers has seen it. He and I have had the conversation, so I think he knows that it's obviously an option. And I think down there, you know, it's different than the rest of town. You know, no one wants to say that or hear that, but it's true. And so if you're interested in that, Dave, myself, probably Deputy Luckett, we would go to the Johns Pass Village Association, explain to them how it would work, I guess very simply from a fundamental standpoint, and see what the response is.
Now, who would buy the cups? The people that are selling the booze down there should buy the cup.
I think you're right. I don't think that's the way that Tampa does it. I think Tampa's, of course, the city of Tampa is a huge, you know, bureaucracy. I'm sure they have a division that would be able to handle this, and I think that's what they're doing. They created the cup. They're selling it to the 7 or 8 approved vendors, probably making $1 off of it, and then the city is regulating that. I think, you know, from our standpoint, the association's sophisticated enough to probably purchase those cups, and then, you know, then it just comes down to an enforcement standpoint by our sheriff's deputies in regards to using it. I ran it by Deputy Luckett. He thinks it's a way better idea than the wet zone idea.
Yeah, I did too.
And in a loose fashion, without being quoted in the press, you know, we're a little lax on how we police the consumption in Johns Pass. You can't go from business to business, but if you buy a beer at DeLosa's, you can sit outside on the bench and consume it, but you can't cross the street to go to another place.
Mr. Crawford, I know that we one time sat with the Johns Pass Merchants Association, and majority of the businesses down there were against it being a open wet zone. And now we're looking at trying to go down there or talk to them or get them to decide, isn't it kind of creating a monopoly? I mean, we're going to see the same thing where we've already created, anybody can walk in here and sell beer at a T-shirt shop. I mean, everybody eventually is going to be able to do this. So it's not like A to B, so how can it be regulated? Everybody at one point can sell it.
Well, no.
So then you've got a complete wet zone. How does it, how?
No,
can we-
the wet zone, is a little different. A wet zone would provide for Shane Crawford from Wisconsin to drive down, pop his trunk, open his cooler, and drink a beer. This is, you're buying a beer from Terry Lister's Tavern in Johns Pass and just wanting to visit other businesses within the pass. You would have the authority to, limit the number of places, Tampa did that, and regulate it in that fashion. So you also approve liquor licenses. So I see what you're saying, is the ice cream shop going to apply for a beer and liquor license because, now I can go from one to the next. I don't know if that would be the motivating factor. I also don't want to say it's happening, but it's happening. It's one of those things, not a lot of people don't understand that right now you can't walk down the boardwalk with a beer, because in many places in America and in the world you can do that.
And I mean, the
So-
deputies are great about, hey, you know what,
Right.
if you're not causing trouble, guess what?
It's the don't be a schmuck rule.
Yeah,
and I mean,
exactly.
that's really how we enforce it. But in this way, at least, it gives the deputies a tool, and it's identifiable. You got to have that cup or you ain't drinking. So it's an interesting concept. It's very premature. I don't even know if Tampa's implemented it. The only thing that I had heard out of Tampa was that there's already either rumor or it's happened that there's a manipulation where, I go buy my cup from Terry's Tavern here, and I keep it, and then on Thursday I show up on the boardwalk and it's already full, and I didn't fill it up at any of your establishments. Now they're talking about changing the cup color to match different days and, wristbands and, whatever the case may be. And I don't know if that's a realistic concern or not. I had just heard that through the rumor mill. But I think it's certainly, it's a better deal. It's a better idea than the wet zone. And it's too bad that Deputy Luckett's not here, because I think he'd probably be able to give you a better take on it from an enforcement standpoint. The deputies would be in favor of this versus what we're doing.
Shane, is this something that could be maybe tried out for a while to see how it would go? And if it doesn't go well, then say we're not going to do it?
Yeah, I think so. You could sunset it. The only issue is that if we don't, there's going to be some capital expense. I don't think anything major. I mean, they're going to have to invest in cups, I think, is really what it comes down to. So, yeah, I think you could say, hey, we'll try this for a year. We'll try this through a tourist season and reevaluate it. And if you're interested, be interested in it. I think the interesting part of this is going to be if the association would come together and say yes or no for it or against it, because they're not always unanimous on how they think about this stuff. And I don't think this is something you should impose or shove down their throat. Let them come back at you. But in terms of doing something like this, this seems to be a hybrid version of a better way of allowing for it.
What happens when they go into a store that has clothing and they say, you're not allowed to have your beer cup in here?
I think you can
That's
do
gonna
that.
create a
I
problem.
think, in fact, if I read the resolution correctly, it only allows you to go from establishment to establishment that's approved to have those cups. So basically, I don't want to call it bar hopping, but that's really what it is. You're not going from Terry's Tavern into the soap shop, if you know what I mean.
But they'll want to do that.
They could.
They will want to do that.
Mhm.
I'm telling you.
Yep. But you could restrict that.
Even as early years ago, when we first had the open container law only for the seafood festival, we hit that snag
Yep.
a lot of times.
Yeah.
They'd stroll in with their cup of beer, and boy,
Well, and if you're being a moron, that's problematic, because if you're going to spill it or you're going to, do whatever. The world's changing, and I don't know if it's, you can pretty much take your dog now wherever you want.
That's right.
That's weird, that's not the way that we used to do it, even 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So I think that's evolving a little bit. And Johns Pass, again, is a different type of animal, no pun intended. So I don't know. I think it's worth at least letting them know about it. And if you authorize, Dave and I and Deputy Luckett will probably go down there and just do a short 5-10 minute presentation and see if they're interested, and then let them.
And put the ball in their court and
Right.
let them handle it.
Right, and if it takes them 6 months to get back to us, that's great, and then we can see what happens in Tampa for the next 6 months and go from there.
Yeah, I think that's the best idea.
Biggest problem I see is the same problem that the condos are having right now. They're having to bring in security on an average weekend to handle the crowd. What are we gonna do when we can't control the crowd down there?
The crowd's there anyway.
I
That's
know
the,
the crowd's there, but it could get worse.
it could,
Are they gonna be able to bring in their own police to help, or are we gonna be stuck with that?
well, that's a valid point. You know, right now, it's a laxed enforcement, but to a certain extent, and when we advertise the fact that now you can walk the whole boardwalk and, you know, that type of thing, but I think, you know, at the end of the day, it's always a term that the mayor uses. It's a very family-oriented type area. It's not, you know, bar after bar after bar after bar, which is a little different, but neither is the Tampa Riverwalk either. Yeah, I mean, enforcement would be an issue at certain times, but I think we have enforcement issues irregardless, because at the peak times, just because of what it is. But you're right, and you know, it's like anything else. You're going to have a couple of abusers, but all of a sudden, if we just notice that, you know, we're doing an excessive amount of, you know, drunken, disorderly conduct type charges down there, like Nancy said, you'd want the ability to say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't for us. But again, I think, you know, not to beleaguer the point, I let Johns Pass Village Association play with this for a couple of months and see what they think and go from there. But I just think that if they're going to do it, we should take a lead role in it, but they should petition you all, not the other way around.
The police commission, go ahead and let the city manager bring that forth to the Johns Pass Merchants Association,
Yeah,
just
I
get
see
a
a
little
lot of
kickback.
problems.
I
see
know,
a
yeah.
lot
I
of
think you're
problems
gonna
with that.
hear-
Really, I don't even know if we should open it. I mean, we
Commission,
can
I
give them
think
the-
you're gonna
obviously-
hear, I think you're gonna hear what we heard the first time, is that the
Where's-
majority does not want that. It's a
Where's-
family, we want to be family-oriented, we want families to come here. I think, you know, what Tampa's trying to do is enhance on their nightlife, and you know, I don't think we're trying to enhance.
If you
on
look at
their
that
nightlife.
map in Tampa, there's a substantial walk between those bars or those areas, a substantial walk. Dude, this one's got like 18 feet. And where does the liability stand? You know, if a bartender overserves somebody at Bamboo Beer Garden and he jumbles down to 5 o'clock somewhere, whose liability is that now? Because he just went out and killed a pedestrian. That's a real gray area. I would be so afraid of this. I'm definitely not going to go.
Oh, you know what I'm afraid of is what we're getting into down there.
Let's just not do it.
Me too.
I mean, you
Again,
know,
Pat,
in the old
I've
days.
passed every liquor license that's come before us. You know that. I've been here 8
Yeah.
years, and nobody's been denied down there.
No.
I gave it to an ice cream shop. That blew me away. Seriously? But Tom says you can't tell them no, Terry. You
Yeah,
can't,
Tom, would
in
you
a public
reiterate
safety
on that
thing.
a little bit to me, or to all of us about that? We cannot, we
Well,
can
if they
no
meet the
longer
criteria.
say-
If they meet
We're
their
not gonna- I'm not gonna
criteria
vote for this.
set forth in your code,
Yeah.
you're almost obligated to do it. The reason that it comes to you is basically because of the fact that you are the zoning authority for the city. And one of the things that the state liquor division requires is it requires approval from the entity that controls the zoning. And so you have to provide it to, they have to receive it to get their application process, but you're also reviewing it for the purpose of meeting your code requirements. So if you say meet A, B, and C, and they meet A, B, and C, it's hard for you to refuse to give them that
If you,
approval.
the two of you may not remember this because it was before you, the Gringo's Restaurant, if you remember that, we found two sections of code that night, and basically,
Safety.
Tom is dead on, unless you can prove that it was going to create excessive traffic congestion, it was a health and safety code, you know, issue, and I think there was one other one. So when an ice cream shop says, I want to be able to serve beer, you know, it's darn hard to prove that it's going to create a traffic congestion issue or, you know, it's a health-related safety issue. So it is basically a rubber stamp for you all at that point if they want to do that. But I'm not proposing this, and if I've got 5 people up there saying, let's not even chat about this, I've got better things to do than go down there and pitch this.
I've become very concerned about Johns Pass Village and all these places that serve beer down there. Pretty soon, you know, one hears it, well, he's got a beer license, a beer. Well, and I want to have one. And this is exactly what's happening now. It's going from worse to worser.
Right.
There's not a word like worser, but it is. And I want to tell you,
It'll be in the
I'm
dictionary.
concerned about it. I am sincerely concerned. Like Terry says, they're door to door.
And, we've had this conversation before, to try to give them some kind of linear foot between the bars, and that's unfair, too, because that takes the property values and makes this one higher.
Yeah, that's
as
what we
well.
used to have.
It's a
You had-
difficult thing.
You had to have
I know
500 feet.
we've talked about that. We just didn't want to cross that bridge yet.
What happened to that, Tom? Was you ever the city attorney when that was in the ordinance, that we had to be 500 feet?
I don't remember that, that, I was here back in 98, 99, 2000, somewhere around in there, but I don't remember the
You never remember that?
specifics.
Well, when we went to build the Village Landing, the new restaurant down there,
Uh-huh.
no, that's not true. When we opened when we took the diner down there and opened it as a family restaurant, and we wanted to serve beer and wine, I want to tell you what, they walked from the bamboo door to our door to be sure that we was 500 feet apart before the city would approve that.
Okay.
So that was probably in the 90s, maybe.
Okay. I don't remember the
Don't remember any of
specifics.
that, but that was in the ordinance. Wonder, they must have changed the whole ordinance somewhere along the way.
I'm sure they did. I'm
You
sure
think-
they
you
did.
think they did?
Everybody's got contacts in John's past. I think right now, everybody is somewhat content, and if we don't want to throw a fly into the ointment, let's frankly leave it the hell alone. But when people were against a wet zone, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be against this, because this is apples and oranges. This is not the same thing by any means. And I thought it might be a solution, but if it ain't for us, then that's fine with me, because I think right now, everybody's relatively content down there. One less
One less thing to
one
worry.
less piece of drama to deal with.
Maybe we should just let it alone for now.
Good for
Are we
me.
having a serious problem, Shane, that we might need to be looking into that?
No, the problem is the tourists coming, I think we had that gal bartender come on in here and say, that you come up to, there's one, I don't even know the name of it, but there's basically nowhere to sit, but they've got 6 beers on tap, and dad and mom and 2 kids are there, and dad grabs a beer, and he says, oh, can I walk along the boardwalk? And she basically has to say, well, if you don't get caught, you're good, but otherwise, basically, no. And he says, well, I have to stand here and guzzle this beer. That doesn't make sense either. And so there's an issue, and I think it's just like anything else. A lot of things that we do, it's not a perfect science. I think, at the end of the day, maybe what we've got right now is okay, with the sheriff's department saying, if you buy it here, you can walk outside at that premise and drink it, but you can't,
Carried around the village.
walk across the street, especially when we're talking about glass bottles and things of that sort, and that takes, this plastic cup issue takes care of that as well. So, we can revisit it in 6 months. The simple thing to do is, let's watch Tampa do what they do for
Mr.
6
City
months.
Manager, I agree with you. Let's see what happens in
Yeah,
Tampa.
let's see, because it'll get out, and people will be looking,
Right.
and we'll probably hear more about it.
Well, let's do, if you guys are fine with it, let's have the clerk tickle this for 6 months down the road, and let's just take a look at it. Elaine, I know
Fantastic.
you've got a contact there. If you've got
Yeah.
somebody that you can stay in contact with, I've got somebody there too. Dave's got people in the licensing office. Dave's from Tampa. I'm sure we'll hear, the horror stories.
Best thing is set up Google alerts on Riverwalk. You'll find out everything.
Get a lot of emails from that thing. No, I don't like that.
Believe me, it drives you
That dinging
crazy.
noise keeps me awake at night.
But it saves you a lot of research.
Yeah.
You find it all out, huh?
Yeah, you can find everything out.
All right.
So table.
Everybody's good with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next item, E, discussion on proposed Florida Department of Emergency Management federal-funded sub-grant agreement, FMA 2013-044 with City of Madeira Beach.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Lynn's
Lynn
here
Rossetti,
to-
how are you doing this afternoon? I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Lynn is here to walk you through a 2-minute synopsis of this. Basically, it's a sizable grant that someone in town qualified for. We used to have to do this internally, and it was a nightmare for staff to do the paperwork. We're now allowed to charge a small fee, but to contract that work out, one of our contracted city engineers is going to do this. But we have to set up a fund for it, and so that's the third grade version of it. Lynn will get a little bit more specific. But at the end of the day, she just wants to give you a quick synopsis of this, and then we'll have to set up a fund at our next BOC meeting.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
As you know, FEMA has a program federal mitigation assistance program that can help people and communities assist the most severely impacted properties that have had flood damages. In 2013, Mr. Brian Johnson, who's here today, from his property is 905 Bay Point Drive, he applied for a FEMA FMA grant, and he has been awarded such grant. It's in the amount of $172,000. That is a 100% federal grant. There is no local match and no match required of Mr. Johnson because of the numbers of flood losses the property has experienced over the years. So really what we have to do, the city is set up as the sub-applicant, and we have to be the pass-through agency for these funds. In other words, the federal government doesn't just give the money to the recipient. The city has to make sure that the work is being done properly. We review it. We go ahead and work with the state and authorize reimbursement, but we have to pay it, and then the state reimburses us. And it's a process we've done a number of times with a number of different projects over the years, and that's just how FEMA works. If you've got any questions, we do have built into this grant a $5,000 administrative fee, and our engineering consultant has agreed to do the work for no more than that amount of money. So they'll be overseeing the grant. We will collect building permits, and those permits for the applicant will be reimbursable, but we will obviously get and keep that permit money just like we would on any other project. The applicant may be building a house that's going to cost more than $172,000, but you won't get any more than $172,000. And the project will have to be substantially complete at the end of that money. So they have, the project budget is on page 24 of the agreement, if you want to take a look at it. And otherwise, staff is recommending your approval of the city entering into the sub-applicant agreement with the State Department of Emergency Management, who is it kind of goes from FEMA at the federal level down to the State Department of Emergency Management at the state level to the community, which is the sub-applicant, and on down to the actual applicant or recipient, in this case, Mr. Brian Johnson. If you've got any questions, I'll be glad to answer it. And Mr. Johnson's here, of course, because he's interested in his money, his grant money.
Lynn, thank you very much, and you've been doing a heck of a job, and I know there's some other things and other grants you've been working on, and some other applicants. I think you applied for 11. The city got 9 on the...
There are 9 outstanding from 2014 grant applications, and 8 of them have been shortlisted. Absolutely
Fantastic. And that's, for a city of this size, that is actually outstanding.
It's tremendous.
Yes, it is. And I can't thank you enough for what you've been doing for the residents of the city and working on this, because I see the hours that you put in. So thank you very much. Mr. City Attorney, I do have a question for you. I know that this is a workshop and we can't vote on it, but by consensus, could we just move this forward so the whole process could start?
No, I don't want you doing that.
So we'd have to actually do it in a regular commission meeting to vote on it.
The problem is that this requires another agreement that you don't even have here. There has to be an agreement between the city and the property owner as well, just like we did back in the late 90s.
Okay.
And the reason is that we're not going to give him the money unless he's contractually obligated to the city to do certain things.
Correct.
And so there has to be another agreement that he will sign, basically saying that he will do all of these things. And so we're going to need to bring these both back to you at the same time. And as soon as, we can get them completed, then that's when we're going to bring them back to you.
Best case scenario is we'll be back to you in 2 weeks.
Okay. And sir, I was just trying to streamline the process, because it looks like you're chomping at the bit to build, and you know what?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I know, and I'm all behind you here on that one. So congratulations. I mean, that's absolutely outstanding. And Lynn, I can't tell you, once again, I've been watching what you've been doing with these FEMA grants. I've been watching where the rating of our city's been going for, doing things for, being able to save residents and flood insurance. I mean, it's outstanding. What you've done is good job. Thank you very much for what you've done.
Thank you. At this point, I know Mr. Johnson's been waiting about 14 months. That was from when he applied.
That's why I'm trying to streamline it for the man.
Well, it's just a process. Going through FEMA is a long process. Thank you.
Well, Tom, is there a big difference in this particular subject than the ones we've had in the past? We've had several of these.
No.
Remember
it's-
Tom, he used to
Yeah.
do this on a yearly basis.
Yeah, what, is there?
Yeah,
is
there's no difference. It's
It's the
just that
same thing.
you're only seeing one agreement, and there's another agreement that we'll have to prepare, just like, I don't know if you remember the Saxon matter, Tom
Yes,
Saxon.
yes, that's
We
what we're
do.
talking
That we
about.
litigated for some period of time. But that was a result, that also had two agreements too. And I just want to make sure that we do them at the same time. And otherwise, you're going to approve this one, and we're not going to be able to do anything until we get the other one done at the same time, at a later date. So we'll bring them both back to you.
Okay, good. I just thought
Okay.
there might be
But there's no
something changed.
difference. Okay.
Everybody good with that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad to be able
And
to
Mr.
see.
Crawford, you're thinking
coming
2
back.
weeks?
I don't want to speak for the city attorney, he's the guy that's got to draft the tough stuff, but I mean, in theory, if we can get it done, we'd be there. Otherwise, you know, it's another month, but I mean, we certainly won't lag behind on it, we'll get moving on it.
We'll try to get it done. I understand, the holiday and so forth. I'm going to be gone for a week, and so, yes, the answer is we'll push it to try to get it through because he's been waiting 14 months.
That's what I love being
Okay.
We'll hustle it.
Brian, it's not looking good.
We'll
Thank you
hustle.
very much.
We'll hustle.
Did we approve you being gone a week?
Well, I mean, that being said, he's in the audience, I mean, if we didn't approve it until January, does that have a huge impact on the work that you want to do? Okay. We'll strive to do December, if not. All right, all right.
Good.
Thank you and congratulations, and
Yes.
that's exciting. All right, next item F, minor proposed amendments to the rental inspection ordinance. Who's handling that?
That's me, Mr. Mayor, and I think to start out with, and I had a quick conversation with Commissioner Poe before this, I'm going to ask for a referral on this, but
Okay.
we ran into one issue. If you go to the second page, scheduling and completing the inspection within 15 working days after they pay is somewhat unrealistic for us because of how we're staffed. And so I think we had a very aggressive ordinance. I think that was the way to go, but there's relatively small changes to this that we need to make. The other thing is the elimination of a period of 30 days as a minimum rental period to qualify. And from what I hear from Commissioner Poe, and I didn't get a chance to qualify this with Frank DeSantis, he had a family issue, and that's why he's not here today. I want to make sure that he and I are on the same page, because by eliminating that, we add quite a workload to what is already a full plate. And then Attorney Trask and I had another issue in regards to a qualifying group of people who, except for like 2 situations out of the year, wouldn't have to be inspected by us. So they do short terms under 30 days. I think, without speaking out of turn, the attorney had a conversation with these people and said, well, would you sign an affidavit stating that you don't rent for more than 30 days at a time? And she said, no, I can't do that, because there's twice a year where a nice Canadian couple comes down and they rent it for 45 days or 60 days. And so, maybe we want to include some language where, not to create ambiguity, but some flexibility possibly, where if you do that, 2 or 3 times a year, we're still not going to come in and do that. And so, at the end of the day, that's a big ball of jargon for, I think I need a referral on this, and I think between Commissioner Poe, the building official, myself, and the city attorney, we'll probably have to sit down and just work out some of the kinks. As for now, the kinks that we've discovered, we're handling internally to make sure that we still comply. So we're going to want these changes. It's just in the next 30 days, we can certainly live with this. I told Commissioner Poe I'd rather change this once and get it right and not irritate a lot of members of the public and saying, here, we amended it 3 times in the last 6 months. When are you guys going to get it right? I think we got to just do it once and be done.
Is it please, pleasure of the commission, go and move item F to be referred?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And in the meantime, Commissioner Poe, if you've got time sometime between now and, the next meeting, you, Frank, Tom, and I will have to sit down and just pound it out.
All right, next item G, discussion on update of employee manual. Mr. City Manager, I imagine that's you.
Yes, actually, it was brought up by your city clerk, and, trying to be tactful. We made some changes back in the day, let's say within the last 3 years, in regards to two relatively specific items in the employee manual. And I believe it was with the former commission, so Elaine and Pat, this will be new for you. But one of the changes I wanted to make immediately was in regards to the holiday schedule. And there was some goofy language in there, but it's goofy, but it makes sense. If Christmas Day fell on a Thursday, you got Friday off, which makes sense, but Friday's nothing. I proposed you just give Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off whenever it occurred. And I believe there was other language, Amy, help me here, if Christmas Day was on a Tuesday, you got Monday off. So there was two circumstances in a period of 7 years where you'd get 2 days off. Otherwise, you were always working Christmas Eve and you were always working New Year's Eve. So I took that to the Civil Service Commission, and you, believe it or not, as a board, adopted the fact that we wanted to do away with that language and just give give the employees Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day off, and just the heck with the goofy language. So, that never got codified. Okay, so, and this is going to dovetail into the next topic on the agenda, but let's just stick to this topic. So that was number one. Then, if you remember, I would say maybe a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years ago, I took it to the Civil Service Commission and I brought it in front of you in regards to when retirement becomes effective for an employee. And the way that it used to be, and I'll probably goof this up, but if I just hired Dave, he did not qualify for retirement for his first year. And that, it was somewhat alien, not common with all the other beach communities. So recruitment at the time, was difficult enough, and I think I probably came to you and said, you know, we still have a reputation, we need to change some of these things, and retirement's a big deal, at least an entire year's worth. So what the Civil Service Commission recommended, and you adopted, not you all, but you as a commission adopted probably a year and a half ago, was that when I hire Dave, and his probationary period is 6 months, and I can extend it another 3 or 6 months, if I approve that probationary period, he gets his retirement dating back to the first day of his job. And if he doesn't pass his probationary period, he doesn't get it. And the idea being, if you're a good employee, you pass your probationary period, you deserve it. If not, you're out the door. Well, neither one of those issues were codified. So you passed them, you don't have to act on them. We're just informing you that this needs to be adopted by y'all, and that's why you're going to see this at your next Board of Commissioners agenda. And thanks to your clerk, because she's the one that caught it when we had a little uproar about when the holidays were going to be this year, and that's the next topic.
All right, everybody good with that? Some questions. So that actually rolls us into item H, which I think brings us into the 7-year syndrome.
Right, yeah, so now, here's Crawford, had a great idea, give the employees an extra couple of holidays, except for this year is when I'm the, you know what. So Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are Wednesday and Thursday. The employees are saying, wait a minute, we never knew about that, I'm not coming in on Friday. Well, you're coming in on Friday, and if you don't want to, use benefit time, but we haven't been like that. We did a buyout, everyone here, morale couldn't be higher right now, everything's good. So I informed the employees of the change that was made, regardless of the fact of whether or not it was codified. And I think the employees, 99% of them, realized that they actually got an increased benefit, and they're grateful for it. No one's screaming, no one's crying, no one's doing any of that. That being said, when you're staffed like Madeira Beach is, that Friday is going to be, gosh darn hard to even open the doors for. I'll be around, your finance director will be gone, everybody's got kids, everybody's traveling. I don't want to be the guy that says, Dave Marsicano, you have got to keep your department open, but you don't have to be here, and then we have 2 hourly employees working whatever department it might be unsupervised. So there's supervisory and managerial reasons why this is an issue. But again, you've been about as giving and wonderful to the employees around here as you can possibly be, and to give them another holiday is kind of, you know, against management 101 when you really think about this. That being said, guys like Dave, guys like Shane, there's going to be a couple of people that are going to have to work on December 24th because of the Bitcoin bash. And there's more employees than that. We've got sanitation, we've got public works, we've got those types of people that are going to have to put in some time. So Christmas Eve is not going to be a holiday for everyone, but it will be for some. Also, Friday, the day that we're talking about, is the day of the game. We're gonna have ESPN, we're gonna have some major networks in town. It's gonna take a lot of time on behalf of probably a lot of the department heads to do that. So even though that I'm working and I'm in town, I probably won't be in City Hall very much that day. And I don't feel like I need to say, hey, Vince, by the way, you can't go to Ohio and visit your family because you need to sit in City Hall on Friday to make sure that, you know, we've got somebody there. Dave's the field guy, he ain't gonna be here, you know, I don't, you know, it's a difficult situation. That's about all I got for you.
Take a breath.
At the department head meeting this morning, I was gonna make the recommendation to you that says, Wednesday and Thursday are the holidays. Friday, if you don't wanna come to work, you don't have to come to work, but you have to use benefit time. If there is a Friday that you wanna say, hey, wait a minute, because of what's going on in town with the Bitcoin thing, that would be the Friday to give off. Now, here's the thing, next week, you got the exact same situation.
And New Year's.
Wednesday and Thursday are a holiday, and then Friday, you know, any of these, everyone's got plenty of vacation time. Everyone's gonna try to take advantage of 2 5-day weekends. And so, from a management standpoint, I just don't know how to staff City Hall, and I'll probably be in a position that I'll have to deny vacation. And that's not exactly what we've been all about lately.
Could you have them pick one or the other?
Sure.
And
Sure.
Just kind of alternate them.
Yeah.
Who works this weekend and be off next weekend.
Yeah, I mean, and that's definitely possible. You know, Dave said it best, you know, his marina guys, we're gonna have the marina open. Sanitation's gonna work. You know, payroll has to go through. So I don't think everyone, you know, there are certain people that are going to have to be here. So, again, I think my recommendation as a city manager is, unless we go with what Commissioner Shantz was saying, hey, we want to give something to the employees above and beyond what I think you've already been a wonderful commission with, including salary increases and so on and so forth. That first Friday would be the one. And I think Christmas with your family, and considering the fact that there's work to be done on Christmas Eve and the day after Christmas, is reason to maybe adjust that one. The following Friday, if you don't want to work, that's why everybody's got vacation time. You know, I'll leave it up to department heads, and I'm also going to allow department heads to close their department with my approval. But it's the one time in a 7-year cycle that we're in this situation, you know, so it is what it is. You know, when Christmas Eve is on a Friday and Christmas Day is on Saturday, they get Friday and Monday off. So, you know, everyone's going to be happy except for this one scenario.
then make them happy.
But they're all happy. I mean, no one's barking about it, and everybody's got plenty of vacation. It's just, you know, when it comes down to it, somebody was telling me a story today where they actually had one person cursed with having to work that Friday in the entire city hall, and basically they just sat here and answered the phone. That doesn't make any sense, because when people come up, they can't get anything done. You know, it's more irritating than a sign on the door that says we're closed. So, at the end of the day, it's, you know, it's certainly your prerogative, but from my management standpoint, I would say both Fridays are just, if you don't want to work, you've got benefit time for that. But if you're looking to give the employees something, nothing better than a day off.
That's right. They appreciate that more than anything.
There's budget implications, though, too. So when you name that Friday a holiday, you know, and I always use Dave, but it's mostly his guys. Sanitation doesn't take off Friday. So if we name that a holiday, now they're getting overtime. But that's their gift from you, I guess. But you guys were
fair.
It's fair, but I mean, you've been more than fair. You gave 3% and 6% salary increases this last time around. Every once we have, you know, there's been times where you have said, hey, let's just take a Friday off because everybody's just had enough. And I think probably within the next couple of months, we're going to be looking at a situation here with the building and everything going on where we might be forced into that. I think you probably just stick it out. You know, last year we had a wonderful little luncheon. We take the afternoon off. We have a gift exchange. You know, then we head down somewhere and have a drink afterwards. That's the ones that want to participate in that. They have a great time. The ones that just want to go home, go home. But your call.
I'm fine.
Well, you're saying then we don't have the Christmas party here?
No, we'll have a party.
We always have to have a Christmas party. I don't give a who what we give them. We have a party. We can have a Christmas party.
I think
We'll give them some time off and a party.
Yeah.
Right. I think because of what's going on, I think we just inform the employees that Friday's a work day and allow the department heads to schedule accordingly. And if they want to take that day off, they take that day off with vacation, use their benefit time. There's plenty of people that got to use it up anyway. and then we'll have our usual, we'll take an afternoon off and have a nice Christmas party, and maybe we can close the doors by 3 o'clock and go have a Christmas cocktail and call it a day.
I agree with the city manager.
Me too.
Commission, what's your pleasure?
I'm going with him, what he said.
Did we give them anything?
Yeah.
No,
We didn't give them Friday off.
No.
Why don't we give them one to take one? We'll let them have the second one, you know, with pay, I mean, with vacation time, but we can give them the first Friday after.
Commissioner, Mr. Crawford, what would be the budget numbers on that, or
Implications.
would you need to?
we're all right,
well,
we're all right in
okay.
pretty much probably all of our
Okay.
overtime budgets. I don't want to speak for Dave, but I think we've been pretty good. The fire department's in good shape, sanitation can definitely afford it. You know, there's that part of it too, you know, these sanitation guys are busting their hump on Christmas Eve, the day after Christmas, and they're not the highest paid employees we've got, you know, so to give them another day of overtime is certainly gracious on behalf of you, and
Do what I do, give them a card for Christmas with money in it.
well, that helps
There
too,
you
that
go.
doesn't hurt.
I think we all do.
Can't do that.
Oh, I can't
Oh,
do
yeah,
that,
that's
that's right. I leave it on my fence, and if it blows away, I don't know. So it's on my fence, guys. That's all I'm saying. Thank you, Tom, appreciate you covering me.
If
That was your attorney
Yeah,
just speaking
that's
up for you,
my attorney,
brother.
help me. Don't do it, Terry.
All right.
So can we not give one and take one?
You can do whatever you want. If you want to have that Friday off, you know, that maybe encourages some of them to go to the game. It gives the people that were working on Christmas Eve because of the Bitcoin bash, that's going to take time. You know, Dave's got his kids in town, but he's going to have to work on Christmas Eve. That's not exactly fair either. So it gives you a little, you know.
Can't please everybody, does it?
And Dave's the last guy to complain, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we're going to have to put in some time over the holidays. It's a goofy situation, but all the guys of every family are watching the bowl game on, you know, around the holidays, so that's just when it occurs. So if you want to do that, we'll name an employee holiday on the Friday after Christmas. Just this year, this is not precedent setting. This is just this one time around.
Yep.
And then the following week, if they want to take it off, they'll take it off. Just be hip to the fact that you're going to have a very, very skeleton crew those 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's good for the employees to get a break. It's almost like spring break. Get out here, clear your head, and we'll see you in January. So.
Keep them happy.
And you'll have to deal with it 7 more years from now.
Right, right.
No, you'll have to
We'll
mark
all
it
be
down.
here.
Mark it down, honey, so you
Exactly.
remember.
Pat,
just
you
in
remember
case.
this. You're the historian.
7 years from now.
You mark this down.
Gotta remember what we did, right?
Right.
I do remember that. We give them a day off.
There you go.
I want to see him at the Bitcoin Bowl.
There you go. And we'll still have our party. Cheryl's,
Still have the party?
she's going gangbusters on putting a party together. She loves it. So.
Yeah, Cheryl, we'll have a party.
Oh, she's here?
I'll help you.
We're gonna have a party?
And a Christmas party, right? I didn't know I had so much power.
Okay,
All right, so everybody's good with item H, we have a consensus for that?
yes.
Mr. City Manager?
Yeah, Cheryl, if you want to let's put a memo out immediately that Friday will be a holiday, and then we encourage employees to use benefit time for the Friday after New Year's.
All right, next item I, discussion on changes to fee schedule for recreational department.
Yeah, I want to introduce Doug Andrews. So he's our new department head. He's rolling with the recreation department. If you see it, it kind of looks like we got some grass out there. And the rec center's probably a couple of weeks from opening. And I gave Doug an accomplished or a relatively extensive list of accomplishments I wanted to see before the structure was actually built. And one was, I don't want to have it built and not have anything in the hopper in terms of activities. So you guys were, I think, very, very smart in making the move to develop that parcel. And Doug will tell you he's gotten 20 inquiries about having weddings already. I'll tell you, they spend money on weddings, and we can reap the benefit of that revenue. You all know about the softball tournament that's scheduled up. Doug's going to tell you about, probably 50 other things that people have been contacting us about. But the one thing that we have to have in place, obviously, is fees for these things. So he wants to walk you through those fees. And the only thing I want to say, and I won't belabor the point, is be ready to see this document 3, 4, 5 times throughout the year 2015. Because I think, A, we're going to need to adjust at certain points when we find out that we made an error. And B, I think there's going to be fees for things that we're not thinking about right now. Number one is if Elaine wants to teach yoga in one of the rooms, is that a $45 an hour rate, or does she rent that by the day, or does she rent that based off of the capacity of the people coming in? And I think we're going to have to be somewhat flexible because I think everybody does it a little bit differently. So again, Doug's got, I would say, the lion's share of this ready to go, but just so you're aware that we're going to have to be a little bit patient with this and probably adjust it throughout the year.
Good afternoon, guys. How we doing?
Hey, Doug.
I'll tell you what, I'll start, and please just stop me as I go through this, because I'm not going to spend all that much time on it. On page 122, what we basically did, we didn't just pluck numbers out of the air. I mean, Brittany and I, the Director of Leisure Services, actually went to 6 different recreation centers in the area, sat down, and I got to be honest, all of our neighbors are so gracious with their time. They sat us down, walked us through their programs, walked us through their room rentals and their field rentals and the gotchas and everything else. So we spent a lot of time, going over these rates. But as Shane said, as much time as we spent going over these rates, this is a whole new frontier for this city. So the demand, I'd like to tell you right now, without having any rooms up, it seems like it's there. I guess we're going to see as time develops how it really blossoms. So we might have to revisit these documents on time, but I wanted to have at least something in front of you guys before the first of the year, because I think we should be in our building somewhere in the next 3 weeks. So the first one is based on hourly room rates and rentals for the recreation center and the city center. We've taken diagrams of the recreation center to some of the bridal companies in the area, some of the smaller ones, and they have come up with some ideas of renting out the whole rec center and designing that deck. Is, if there's anything you guys built that was fantastic, is that huge deck on the back of that where the 2 rooms can adjoin to it, and you can have a whole full wedding out in the back there. I've been approached on retirement parties and everything else across the board. So we basically ran through a bunch of different rates that we put on paper here. A lot of this doesn't make sense until you actually put it to paper, and if you look 2 pages back, you could actually, well, I'm sorry, that was the document that I gave, the auxiliary document at the end, will basically show you what a wedding would kind of run for a 6-hour period of time. So basically, if you had the whole place rented out with your insurance fees, your setup, and your cleaning fees, your grand total would be somewhere around $2,000. And that's really without anything more than us just kind of getting the place ready to go. They'll bring in their own we're not getting into the food and beverage business. This would be them bringing their own caterers, them bringing their own tablecloths. We would just supply everything else across the board there. They'd bring their own liquor. So that would just be for the room rental rate. There's different rates on here as well for somebody wants to throw a birthday party, a baby shower, anything else across the board. They don't have to rent out the whole rec center, but we kind of broke that down. We also have the all-purpose room of the city center in here as well. It's called the city center room. We could come up with a fancier name for that down the road, but for the time being, we just kind of plugged some numbers into that because it's the biggest of all 3 of the rooms.
Doug, can I stop you right
Sure,
there?
absolutely.
That's something that I want you to pick up on. The staff had permission to name these rooms just literally categorically so we could put this together. But there may be naming rights or that can be sold or sponsored. You may have, a deceased, somebody that you want to name a wing after. I floated an idea by one of our local, celebrities, Mike Allstott, saying, geez, if we named a wing after you in the rec center, would you coach the Little League football team and would you make 3 appearances, throughout the year? And, of course, the answer was yes. And so just because, right now staff named one room the Boca Ciega or whatever room, the Sun Room, whatever it might be, that's not in perpetuity. You certainly have the right to adjust that as you see fit. But I think as time progresses and the context that, Doug has and Dave has and you all have, we may want to consider the Mike Allstott wing or the whatever room after, a former mayor or whatever the case may be. So just don't get stuck on those names because they're just placeholders at the time.
Yeah, honestly, we just put those in there to distinguish the different rooms, that's all, as far as the rental rates. The second page, on page 123, this is the athletic field rental rates. Again, on paper, they're just numbers, but we have a resident fee, a non-resident fee. If you look below, there's a multi-tournament discount, and I'll kind of get into that a little bit further as we go through the discussion. But you can see it has softball fields, soccer fields, festival fields, the basketball courts, we put it in there. I mean, we're certainly not going to stop a bunch of kids from going out and playing basketball and ask them for $3. But, as long as we have these in writing, we at least have them. There's also a light fee for when people are using the facility at night, because we're obviously paying the electric on it, rental cleaning fee, an attendant fee. And a lot of these things will add up. I mean, as we do these tournaments and we have more of our staff involved with having to do it, we need to charge people for that. So I think you'll see on the next page, we kind of broke down most of the people that have approached me on tournaments, obviously besides the big game, the big tournament, the Division I girls tournament, have mostly been weekend tournaments, a Friday night thing followed by an all-day Saturday and most of the day on Sunday. So if you look at page 124, this basically breaks it down. This was kind of produced, and obviously I haven't shared pricing with anybody, but I've gone to a few of the people that have come to me to kind of do some pricing comparisons so that we could build this program. This would be for somebody that's going to have 10 tournaments, basically every weekend for 10 months out of the year. They would come. This would be the rates that we'd be looking at. And there's everything on here from field rental. And I got to be honest with you, what I really did is I backed into a price. If a tournament was normally going to be $250 per field per day, I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to be able to have a breakdown of it and I'll be able to do it that way. So we kind of backed into the price on this. So this price for a 3-day tournament on the fields would be a little over $2,100. So right around $250 per field per day. Okay, so that's where that came from. Again, stop me. If you guys have any questions, please stop me. I wanted to do a quick comparison for you. Obviously, it's no big secret that the buyout hit our department probably as hard as anybody else's. We've rebuilt pretty quickly. Hasn't really slowed us down as far as anything that we're doing. We haven't gone for any special favors. We're still, if you look at this, probably about body and a half or 2 bodies down as far as full-time and part-time. I've got one person that's working half of the time in the rec and half of the time out in the field with Deb and Chris Mecco. So you can kind of see where we're at. We have a volunteer that's going to come on part-time in the child care division starting on Monday of next week, and we have a temporary director of child care. We didn't have anybody with the full credentials. We found her ourselves. We actually, Seminole had stopped their aftercare program. We snagged their director. She's just working a few hours a day for us just so we can satisfy all the county's requirements for that. So she's in the interim and we have 2 of our employees that should have their full credentials by May. Okay. So on to page 126. This is kind of a breakdown of what we're doing. I kind of call them project leads because I think we've kind of expanded the rec center to where we've delved into a couple different areas, and I did this more for our staff here at City Hall because a lot of people were asking, well, who's handling this, who's handling this? Well, this kind of runs it down as far as what we're doing. So you can see from child care to athletics to special events, softball and baseball tournament coordination, and it's got basically every area that we're looking at. There's probably a few I missed when I put this together, but just to give everybody a kind of a rounding view of what we're doing. As far as wedding and rec center rentals, that's on there as well. Our IT department, which really isn't an IT department, but we have our own little website now, a Madeira Beach Fund website, or Mad Beach Fund website, whichever, they both go to the same site. And we're starting to get involved a lot more into the social media aspect. Our rec center programming, which you're going to see on the next page anyway, and then miscellaneous. I mean, we've got liaisons to all of the different divisions around here, whether it be Johns Pass Village or the Chambers or, the Little League, for example, into the schools. So that's kind of that page. 128, we haven't reached out really at all to many people as far as trying to build our programming at the rec center, whether it be, Zumba or yoga or what have you. These are people that pretty much came to us, or I think a couple of them have contacted you guys and then they've contacted us. I wanted to at least have a, and I don't know what the followings of these people are, or how busy we're going to be. We're going to do, either depending on their following, we're going to do either 75-20 split with revenue, or we're going to do an 80-20 split depending on, like I said, depending on the following that they have. What we're going to do is we're going to start taking, as soon as the rec center is completely finished, that's when we're going to start inviting some of the area people that have good followings in and try to recruit them. I thought it was kind of too early to start doing that without a building. And I think that, it'll prosper us down the road. But as you can see, even with just the ones that we have right now, without really going out hard and recruiting, and we've got a bunch of spots filled out. And I think what's going to really kind of play into this too is how can we coordinate this? Can we have one person in the Boca Ciega room and one person in the Starboard room at the same time running different classes? So this is going to all be a work in progress as we go forward. 129, this is the sports look for the type of athletics that we're going to run. We're just finishing up our soccer season, which has been a very interesting adventure for me. We've made it through the regular season. We're off to the playoffs, and we're going to be concluded by Christmas time, which was everybody's goal. But it went along really well, no real hang-ups, and fortunately the weather agreed with us, so we've gotten through that. But it has taken up quite a bit of my Saturdays and a little bit of my patience, but we've prospered on. But we got a lot of different things that we're doing. We've actually, when I leave here now, we've got a call with the Orlando Magic to bring back that basketball program that they had. We're also doing something for the girls with the Magic cheerleaders, where they're going to be able to go to the games and go to a game and work out with the Magic cheerleader, and then do something at halftime of one of the games against the Boston Celtics on March the 8th. So we're getting that all squared away. I'm sorry, are you looking at me like you had a question?
No, I'm just amazed. That's all.
Stop it.
Amazed and dazed.
Thanks. Yeah, but you can see the other events that we got going on. We've got some beach volleyball things that are heading up here soon, which I'll let you know more about as they develop, and the cornhole that we've been doing once a month here, and we're going to probably kick into like a three-month tournament coming forward. I think I showed you this last page, or the second to last page, which was the rental for a wedding center, which again would be around $2,000. The last two I threw in here, there are two letters from people that I've already done hard hat tours with. We've walked the fields. We've discussed this with them. The first one, I think, I don't know which ones you have in order, but it's dated November 18th. It's from ISA. These guys are a huge organization, softball organization, and they also do Little League type baseball, youth league baseball. They want to do 2 tournaments a month here. They've already seen proposed pricing. They sent me this letter the other day, and they want to get their pricing in front of me. Again, if we've looked at their letters, it hits on all the right things. They want to promote the area, motels, restaurants, bars. But I think the big thing is, if I really wanted to, between this and the letter behind it, these guys, the Game Ready Scout Day, this was one of Kevin Smith's people that came to us with this. They walked the fields. They like what we're doing. They want to have a tournament here every month. Kevin's St. Pete Commission is going to pay for a portion of it. And this is one of the guys that kind of gave me the pricing, so he's set with the pricing. So I haven't signed anything. I'm not that crazy at this point. I don't see any grass on any fields just yet, and I don't want to embarrass us by any means. But once we are ready to go, I think that, just by looking at these two things, without even going out and heavily recruiting, you guys made a great call because, this is 30, right here, there's 34 tournaments plus our Division I tournament. That'd be 35 tournaments without us even really going out and aggressively marketing it. So figure we'll get more for the Division I tournament because they want the fields turned over more and they want more things from us. But some of these smaller ones just want the fields turned over every couple of games. So I think we'll be in good shape. Okay? Any questions, guys?
Doug?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I had a question, Doug.
Sure.
I don't know how to put it now. For the rental of a room or something, are you
Yes.
charging by the hour or by the number of people?
Well, we're charging by the hour. Now, it depends. There's different size rooms. If you've seen the drawings of the rec center or been over there, there's one fairly decent-sized room which can kind of be set aside from the others, and the other two are more elongated rooms that we could set up tables in and do all kinds of stuff. But the answer to your question is by the hour. We're not going to really monitor, except for, I believe, on our setup and cleanup fees. The amount of people that they're going to have in here, it's just going to be if they can be within the fire code. If we rent out the whole building, it's just got to be a fire code deal, and that'll be part of the contract as well. But it would be an hourly rental unless they're renting the whole building. And then it's still an hourly rental, but it's in hourly blocks of like 4, 6, or 8 hours.
Okay, Thank you.
Good?
Is this ISA? Remember that one? What was the guy's name? Brown?
Kevin Smith.
Smith.
This is the same gentleman that Mr. Andrews was talking about.
All right, when are these teams coming?
Which one? I'm sorry, the ISA
Many
teams?
of them from up north, they're supposed to be coming. down
February.
the pipe.
February.
All, yeah, I mean, both of these, actually, the one gentleman wants to start up in March. The other one wanted to start up in February. I've been a little hesitant on the February date right now. You know, these are teams that are coming from up north, but, you know, they're willing to come down all during the year. I think the only dates that the Game Ready Scouts people didn't want to do were July and August. So they've got tournaments that they can bring down here at all different parts of the year.
All of us church-going folk have to pray for grass. That's a big deal.
I get up every morning and look out the window.
I saw like
It's greener
two-
and greener.
It is.
It
getting
looks,
Somebody's praying.
it looks
hard.
green, but it's not grass.
There's some other things involved there, yeah.
It's thin.
It's thin. It's thin.
When they put that grass seed in, can I ask this question? Do they have like paper mache mixed in with the seed so the birds didn't eat it?
I don't think it's called paper. They did something
It's
to
like
that
paper mache,
effect.
I don't
What was the? We all know more about
Mm-hmm.
some grass than we ever care to think. But it was not sprigging. They sprigged it, and so they chop up sod basically, and then seed it, and then fertilize the what out of it until you can't anymore. So we're gonna have grass unless we have a real cold winter, and then we're gonna have to adjust real quick. So, but the universities that are coming down are aware of the construction and everything that's going on, and if we have to relocate, it won't be the end of the world, but it'll be a panicky type situation.
Yeah, because I tell you, it really watch the grass. Get up in the morning, I look out the window. Grass
Oh, we've been watching.
It really is getting green out here.
It's happening. I think we're gonna be all right. We gotta have faith. We'll be good.
Only once or twice it grows it.
Mhm.
About 150. Oh, I hope they're not eating the grass.
We're good.
But
Tech-
I was told the way they
Sorry,
plant
Commissioner
it,
Lister.
that they shouldn't eat it. They won't like that.
That's true. That's true. I don't know what it is, but that's.
They don't like it. I don't know what they call it.
Sorry, you're keeping me up.
Doug, could you just elaborate on the insurance cost on the room rentals? I see there's $150 or whatever for insurance cost, and there's no insurance cost for any of the field rentals? Is there?
Yeah,
a
you know what,
blanket policy that we have, or how
Commissioner
would we
Lister,
make-
what we did there, I guess imitation is the greatest form of flattery. I mean, we took this directly from St. Pete Beach. They're having 89 weddings at their facility this year, which, figuring there's 52 weeks out of the year, that's pretty darn good. But they've hooked us up with a company that will provide an insurance rider just for the people that are renting out the space, especially if they're
Specifically
bringing
for
their
that
own alcohol.
organization?
What's that?
Specifically for that night?
For that organization, for that night, it's a $150 fee that they can, and then they're insured. The fields, we're not really promoting alcohol on them. I think this is more of an alcohol waiver than anything else, and a damage waiver, because they've already got a damage waiver with us. But I think that, I just think on the safe side, we just throw that clause in there that they have to have it, and it's inexpensive enough where I don't think anybody's going to balk at it, especially if they're paying for a wedding.
You're doing a good job trying to put all this together. Whoa.
Thank you, Commissioner Shantz.
It's hard to really realize what you have to do.
Lots of moving parts, absolutely.
You gotta do it.
And I know that you haven't done a lot of aggressive marketing yet, only because people are coming to you, but I would hope that we sort of leave a slot for new business, new and better business. I mean, everybody's going to come to you in the beginning and say, listen, we want a piece of this new pie. But you're smart enough to know that from what I can see, it's only going to get better.
Absolutely.
So the better it gets, the more people are going to want to be part of it and pay more to do that.
Absolutely.
So if you line yourself up for 3 years and sign a contract to, whoever, which is fine, I appreciate you doing all the legwork there. Just don't lock us into a long-term contract.
You will not see my name on any contracts currently. How about that? Now, we're waiting this out, and I didn't really want to get involved. Number one, because we don't have fields yet. So I certainly didn't want to lock us into anything and embarrass ourselves. So, yeah, we'll see what the market bears for us, and we'll keep a lot of stuff open, and we'll
I'm
kind
excited.
of work from there.
Looks
Me too.
good. I know you've done a lot of hard work.
Thank
I
you.
just want to thank you for you and your staff.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
When it comes time to name the fields, do we get to name the fields?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that that's going to be, up to you guys how you want to do that, how you want to go about it. I would think that that should be something that should be a reward for somebody that's helped us out, or somebody that's financially willing to help us out, I guess would be the nice way to put that. Yeah, yes.
Doug, you've done an outstanding job. I know I've had a chance to talk to you a few times on this, and I have heard back from Kevin Smith, so I know you've been working with Kevin Smith quite a bit over there at the Pinellas County Sports Commission, and I mean, that's large. You know, these bigger tournaments, what it's going to do financially for the city, bringing people in here, heads and beds, and you know, things I always look at is what is the city bringing in the bed tax dollars, and what can the city get back from the bed tax dollars it's bringing in. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hello, yes.
Good job.
Thank you.
And don't be shy about coming back before us and changing the prices.
All right, I take it we have a consensus to move forward with the changes for the fee schedules for the Recreation Department.
Yes.
Mr.
That's
City
good.
Manager, is there anything you would like to add to that?
No, I'm fine, but I gotta make this meeting longer, and we have to go back to that holiday, because I'm starting to run into problems already,
Okay.
if we're done with it.
Right now, we're done with I, so if you want to go ahead and revisit, is it G or H? Yeah, H.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Dave, it's like everyone has to work that Friday. I mean, Dave's entire staff. Yeah. So which would be fine, so then what we're saying is they could have overtime, which is fine, you know, that's a nice little benefit, but it's like Vince's staff's gonna have to work. Cheryl's been trying to put this memo together for the staff, so I said, you know, today at the BOC workshop, there was discussion regarding the Friday after Christmas. The BOC has very generously decided to give employees an extra paid holiday this year. BOC is giving all employees the day after Christmas off as their way of saying thank you for all that we do. And I'm now inserting hourly employees that have to work, will make overtime, and department heads who have to work and take another day off. And this was a very generous offer, or generous gift to the BOC, and I know that everyone greatly appreciates it. Please note, employees are encouraged to take the day off after New Year's Day, but will be required to utilize annual leave. So if you have to work on that Friday, you can just take another day off, and if your folks have to work, they get overtime, so I guess if that's what you're all comfortable with. It's not a perfect science. It's not like you're gonna have everyone's gonna stay home. There's gonna be a bunch of people that gotta work. They're just gonna make a little extra money that day.
Well, should.
Alrighty.
All right.
I think we're good.
Everybody good?
Thanks.
All right. Seeing no further business, this meeting is adjourned at 3:46.